Okay, we're ticking. We're ticking, and I'm sharing with different people. Test. Yes, the volume seems to be working. And it's raining if you can't hear me. There's a little pitter patter. It's not too loud right now. Yeah, actually, got Revelation 11 is what I wanted to have down here. A different verse on my screen. So if they get the call to come back, well, wait, I'm going to get to my, sorry, I had a bunch of things loaded, so I don't want to get rid of them yet. Just having to figure some things out here. So my title is crazy, Kathy. This was the great shaking of Revelation 11, the sixth trumpet's second woe. 3 individuals watching, and I think it was, to be honest with you. That's why but I put it as a question because I don't know that I'm right about it. And I felt like I just wanted to share some stuff about that. Because, well, I still didn't send this to 2 locations, did I? Okay. I'm going to share this a few places. There's nobody in the chat. 3 individuals watching. And so I forgot to say there's 2 individuals watching. One of them's myself. Anyway, but I was going to say that I was going to start this with a little bit of fun music. I think I got too much saliva in my harmonica now. Hey, Finch. Says hello to Kathy and Sawyer and all. Oh, yeah, it's too much stuff in there, that old harmonica. I gotta knock it out. Now I got it all out. That was fun. Thanks, Kathy. Okay, now I'm going to turn this because I don't think I'm going to do any more of the musica. And it looks like there's a few folks here now. Let's see if I got my screen pointed right here.
It's just gonna take. Yeah, you do. It's there.
Yeah, okay,
Oh.
good. Right. I got the light on me tonight. We got a pitter patter of rain happening.
See, Matthew Carey said the audio isn't picking up the music.
Oh, really?
Jason Cummins, I guess, could hear it.
Huh. Huh. I don't know what's wrong with that. Unless I have the wrong mic working. That looks like that's the right mic. It's responding when I tap it. If it was the computer mic. Yeah, sorry about that. I mean, I'll have to, yeah, make it maybe, yeah, we can improve on this for sure. So thanks for that input. Let's see. That's the one. Okay. So I didn't put anything different on the screen for this tape because there's a lot more to go through with tape 289. Oh, I told Jason that I was thinking about Carloti, thinking about 288 as being, but 289 is the one I was thinking about. Recently? I mean the last few minutes? Oh. Oh. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, 289 is where Doe is talking about Adam's addiction and um, and that was what happened to the entire human kingdom because he wasn't. Yeah, I'm just.
Trying to get your plan all before
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm not cold, but I'm just
Yeah.
responding a little bit that way. But he was talking about Adam's addiction being to Eve. Initially, it wasn't something that he knew that he probably had an addiction to. But uh, when he found himself without his older member physically with him or able to be with him in a way that he identified as being there, because he couldn't see him. This is Doe talking about it. I'm just trying to use a summarization of the words. But um, that was him showing that he wasn't only addicted to his older member, because that he had something that he still needed to gain in that to be on solid ground, to be able to be trusted with certain tasks. So it was an advancement for uh, the mind that we know of as Doe, um, who T indicated was doing that task as Adam and recovered from it as Enoch and then left with his vehicle and then came back in the task of Moses to start the experiment towards graduation after the human kingdom had arrived at kind of grade six, I guess, in some ways. Because those laws, thou shalt not kill and all that, those are grade six people. Learning to, to recognize the higher mind in those laws. Anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. But um, so and then when he got that going, him and his older member T and O working together on the project. Then he came back. He did a little side project as Elijah through the vehicle that was known as Elijah, and then Elijah left with his vehicle, and they left evidence of it, of the leaving, even though. Well, Tiendo felt like Moses didn't, his vehicle wasn't left behind either. But they didn't talk about what, any details to that I ever heard. Anyway, but so then when Jesus left, he also proved that he was physical and that he left with his vehicle. So that's three times the next level was proving to somebody that they were physical and they left with a physical body to enter into a cloud of light, to enter into some kind of a craft that it was above our ability to comprehend. But it was identified the most as a cloud throughout the history in the record books. Cloud of light, was leading Moses and in the desert, the a million people,
pillar.
pillar of light, right? And also, I think there was another depiction of a cloud of light that came over the mountain where Moses went up to plead for his people, that they would be destroyed and wiped out, I guess. I mean, not that they had any intention of doing that, but he knew that, it takes strong lessons, difficult lessons, in order to grow a mind, to overcome the things that happen because of uh, not being of one mind with our older member, not even knowing what that is. And being of one mind is a process, and it's maybe never achieved, but the goal is to achieve it enough to where the next level uh, um, wants to give you opportunities to continue the growth. And so everybody can be potentially growing in that direction, whether they know it or not, whether they desire it or not, in a way that's conscious with the direction that they're going for. Except I recommend going to the creators of this planet and the life forms on it, and the ones that are further away, so that they can't. I don't know if there's anything wrong with the other way of thinking about it. So I'm not going to try
So
to
that it's
guess.
not distorted and the lower forces don't get in the way.
Right, right. That's why you send it as far away from the planet as you can imagine. And like Jesus said, "Our Father who is in the heavens," the outer space, the elevated areas above the earth. And he didn't feel at that time to try to qualify how far to go. But he did say that you would see the signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, upon the return. Signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, so that's that whole area, I mean, that's about as far as you can think. Stars. And and they keep on showing us that there's more and more happening that they don't have a clue about, but they're guessing about. And they're coming up with some good guesses a lot of times that are even, probably accurate to some degree. It's always going to be to some degree because uh, um, even a small degree of next level accuracy with what somebody is seeing and interpreting as a certain thing, it is a big degree of medicine to us on Earth. Like when they say that, like Atlas, Three Eye Atlas. I never thought about it as three eyes. Yeah. So anyway, I won't get off on that, but uh, it's uh, it's just that the next level is doing so much, and we have kind of no consciousness of it. It's like, a dog or a cat can be very aware about a lot of things, but they're not going to know all the things that are happening in the boardrooms and on the computer when you're sitting at home, your cell phone, unless it makes some noises. And it's probably at least that much more that's happening in the next level cruise. And so there's high qualifications to be a member of their crew. And one of the biggest qualifications that's talked about right here in this tape 289 is that you're trying to have your older member's mind on your mind all the time. You're always thinking about what your older member would do in this circumstance, what your older member would be thinking about, what your older member would be concerned with, what they would put their time into, how much time to put into it. I mean, I don't know, what all the questions would be, but it's getting to a point to where that's all you got. That's all that's going through your head. I know I experienced some of that. I was in this meeting in 289. I
I
remember,
don't think that you were, because remember again that it was only four
oh,
individuals that
right,
were
but I
there.
heard this on tape and I went away from that tape, and it wasn't the last time Joe was talking like this in degrees, right? Because, I mean, you can see the past tapes that we just listened to in the 200s, the 260s, whatever they were, talk about being on one mind with the older member, and the older member being of one mind with his older member, T. So they gave us the example that they were following in order to teach us what the example has to be for somebody to qualify to graduate into that next kingdom level environment and life. So they were giving that all to us, and by their example, not just by talking about it. Because if it was just talking about it, then it would be a philosophy. But if their talk matches their behavior, the more and more it does that, and the talk is from your old member's mind, it's not somebody else's opinion, even though somebody else can have the same opinion as the older member, that doesn't make it any less of a good or a bad opinion. But depending on who has it, because the truth is the truth. What's real is real. The next level is the most real, because real is a development.
You could say, I believe the next.
Right. We could say, I believe the next level is the most real.
As opposed to, stating
Yeah.
that as an out.
Well,
Other
personally, I
people
feel like
may.
I do know it.
I
But
know, but
yeah,
other,
I know. But
I don't
see, I
know.
don't, even if I say I know it, that knowing is not really that strong, because it's still a mental limitation of me really knowing my older member. But we can know degrees of our older member, I believe. Like we can recognize that he's an older member. And we can recognize that by characteristics and things. But whether I'm reaching that or not in a beyond talking way, I don't know. Because certainly I'm not living up to all the standards of that were required of the individuals to graduate.
You're not telling anybody else that they need to be doing that either.
No, I'm not telling anybody to do that, because we actually really can't do it entirely, not to the degree that the graduates can do it, because our older members not with us physically. But we can learn a tremendous amount in that direction, everything we need in that direction, if we choose to, by, in my opinion, looking to their minds and studying what they said and did, and you're going to hear things that are challenging, and you're going to hear things that you agree with, and it's not going to, right, it's just moving along, it's keep on going is the bottom line if somebody wants to grow in that direction. It's always a matter of choice whether you want to grow in that direction, because growing in that direction also isn't easy, because there's a lot of reasons that you can think of that, you know, I don't want to be too preoccupied with this, because, people look at me this way or that way, or I don't even know if I believe it. So, uh, anyway, it's tough. It's not easy, because I was going through this yesterday. I was thinking, I could lose. I was talking to Carlotti about this on an email, and he didn't respond. But, Carlotti used to always say that he was thankful that he could still recognize his older member as being his older member from the evolutionary level above human. So, and when he would say that years ago, I mean many years ago, because I've known Carlotti since well, maybe it was, I knew him, I met him in the classroom initially in uh, California, I believe, but maybe in other locations before that meeting. There were just so many new individuals at the
What year
time.
did you meet him in the classroom?
Uh, Well,
92?
I think it was 1994.
94, okay, that's
Yeah.
what.
Well, I know it was 1994. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I remember you saying that. Not that I was there or anything, I just thought I remember you saying that.
Yeah. And
You were saying something to him in an email?
so yeah, I was talking about that at the time when he would say that about being thankful that he still recognizes his older member. I didn't really compute what he was saying. It didn't really make sense to me. Well, it's not that it didn't make sense. It's that I didn't feel thankful for that, which is my lack of mind in that regard. And because
You didn't feel thankful that you still recognized your older
yeah,
member?
I
Is that
took it
what
for
you're saying?
granted. I took it for granted that I did. And you can't take it for granted because you can lose it. Even if you have it, doesn't matter how even in what degree you have it. You may think you have it, but you may not have it nearly as much as you need to have it in order to stay connected through the battles that come. And anyway, so that is from the older member's mind to think that way, in my opinion, and by lots of evidence of it throughout the tapes. But in other words, Doe always talks about not trusting himself in these tapes, and being comfortable with not trusting him. Well, no, what was the wording you put on it? Uh, Recognizing that his lack of confidence, that he was recognizing his older member's presence not being with him, not being confident that he was able to recognize that, or that he deserved his older member's presence, not, you know, that put him in good stead. Not that he was doing it for that reason. He was going through these feelings of being inadequate and not doing a good job, and so his older member wasn't with him. And then we're talking about after T left her vehicle, because he had experienced feeling like T was with him in some kind of a greater capacity of recognition at times that um, was very satisfying to him. I mean, it was, uh, um, I guess, I don't know how to describe it except that I think he was for joy. He had joy about it. And as different from other times when he doesn't feel that closeness. And he learned to recognize the distances, the different kinds of distances that there can be. And it doesn't mean that anyway, I'm not going to go through what it doesn't mean, but because I'll probably be wrong. But so So again, he's demonstrating his relationship with his older member and what he's going through. And that enables him to be able to identify with what we go through if we're trying to be of one mind with our older member. And being of one mind with our older member, we shouldn't let the influences try to make us feel guilty if we're not doing that as much as it sounds like we're supposed to grow to do it. Because it is a growth process to do it. You can't do it because somebody told you to do it unless you end up doing what they do in the religions and you make it into a vain repetition in your mind, something that loses meaning because you're focused on the words or the ideas, certain ideas that are good, but also very limiting once we lose their intention. And we lose that intention slowly, I think. Um, and so the meaning of the words loses its steam. It's stronger vibration. It's no longer as meaningful, I think, is the way I can say that it affects me, that I feel like I've been affected by. And it can be just like this, that can happen to somebody, to where they once had consciousness about something and then they lost it. Now, it doesn't mean that their brain all of a sudden shuts off all the thoughts that were happening with that consciousness, because that consciousness was also a gradual development and was influenced by the soul that is trying to take over our vehicle. Because there's souls with us all that had some relationship with older members before, at least the ones that are working in this direction, which they might not even know that they are that soul or not. It doesn't matter because it's how it comes through the vehicle. But they could have been working on, overcoming characteristics of the human kingdom for their whole lives, and that can be exactly what is happening because of a soul interfacing with that individual to help it through those things, where somebody else that's going through it may not succeed in going through certain lessons and getting rid of certain addictions and things, or may go down a dark road because they're not tapping into the higher source and not knowing we're tapping into the higher source, but having some kind of desire to tap into that higher source is what the next level is recognizing from even from their computer systems, and wanting to reward, wanting to help those individuals in that direction in the way that they know that they can help according to what that individual needs at the next level knows. And so they give us little glimpses of help, and then they give us the challenges too. And some of the challenges are coming automatically because that's what the whole society is going through more and more. But they've been here all along. They've been challenges all along because there's always things to grow to all along. It's a school. The entire kingdom is a school, according to Tiendo.
A terrible, horrible school.
A terrible, horrible school. It's not terrible, horrible. There's fun in the school. And there's rewards when we learn a lesson. But I know what you're saying, Kathy. I tell you, I was going through it yesterday. Kathy was going through it yesterday.
I've been.
And she's been going through it, with body changes and mind changes and circumstance changes and all kinds of emotional concerns. And
Getting sued is very detrimental to your mental well-being.
yeah,
Well, it's been very detrimental to my mental
especially for something like this. To me,
like if
it's
I
so dark. I mean, because
I don't think
it's a glitch
I don't
to
think
think that
Tim
it's
or
not.
Joe would engage in any kind of activity that would make me want to take my own life. I don't think they would like keep hurting me
No, they wouldn't hurt you at
like
all.
that. I don't think that is from their mind to be hurting somebody so much that they want to kill themselves.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing to do to somebody. It is. I mean, no, it's funny. It's not funny, but it's sad, very sad
It's awful.
that
It's horrible.
that appears to be some of the reasoning. The flip side of that,
I can't imagine
that
ever
us
wanting
talking
to do that to
positively
somebody.
is going to lead somebody
Blows my
to
mind.
wanting to leave on their own by their own hand when it's clear
I don't want to. It's just
that we
sometimes I
need these
can't like
lessons.
handle it. Like I feel like I can't handle it.
Right.
It's just too much.
Yeah, I understand that. I get hit with things that I can't handle
But anyway, I got to do the blocking again.
and get out of them. Yeah. Okay, let's move on then.
Yep.
Well, let me go to the chat. Hello, Matthew Carey. Yeah, the mute. You know,
Yeah, we'll
like
have
Kathy
to.
read already that the
Yeah,
mute,
we'll
the
have to
audio
listen
isn't
to
picking
that.
up the music.
We'll figure it out. Anyway, you can
Yeah,
move on
we're
from
gonna
that.
work on that. And Joseph Coates says, "Right on, Sawyer, laying down a beat and harmonica." So you can hear it, but
Anyway, we already went over.
Matthew can't. Yeah, I
I know
don't.
it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, it's weird.
God, so we are gonna figure it out.
So I guess we'll have to record it next time, which I can
Yeah,
do that
yeah,
easily,
we'll
and
do
then
a
we'll
little.
see what it sounds like.
We knew something was up.
Sawyer's Adventure. I was able to hear the gist of I think the loudness made the mic peak or something. Oh, the mic was peaking. That makes
So are you
sense.
too close to it?
Yeah. So this kind of mic is probably more designed as hanging from a ceiling for like a to pick up everything.
Huh. So maybe it'd be better if while you're playing you use the laptop mic.
Maybe we'll have to experiment a little bit. See if we can hear it in the recording. Because I can record it right from OBS.
I guess before when you were playing the drums, we were using the phone for some of those streams.
Like at the desert.
Yeah, we were using the phone. Well, and even in
They came
the
across in that one abandoned building, right?
uh-huh.
That became the little video clip.
Anyway,
Yeah. So we're
different
thinking about
microphones.
it. We'll see if we can fix that. Because I like doing that. You know,
Yeah, I like it too. It's really nice.
I feel like I'm thinking at the time that it's got an uplifting vibration, even though it may have seriousness to it also. I mean, that's the way I feel about it.
It's nice.
XF says hello to everyone.
Hello, XF.
I got this stuff on the screen here that's weird though. HTML inspector. Oh, okay. I don't know where that came from. Oh, I see that XF says that saw Kathy's video called Restart was pretty good, simple and to the point. Restart.
I think that was over on the Sawcat channel.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, I've been neglecting that. I've been going through a lot of.
All right. So what's next? Oh yeah, back with the tape 289. Though it's talking about. Well, I already dipped into this, but let me put it more the way that he talked about it. If you haven't listened to it yet or don't plan to, that he was saying that he felt like there was a couple things that he could do uh, that would position him uh, that he could arrive at a position of overcoming death of the vehicle so the vehicle doesn't die. And I talked about this a little bit in the last stream, um, but he said there were a lot of hazards come with doing those two things. And they are hazards that come from, that could result in taking a greater chance of our class's hookup with him. As long as he didn't do those things, that he and the class ended up having a stronger hook together. Uh, and then he felt like he was not able to really discuss this right. So he said like, good night, let's start in another place. He did that several times in this conversation because he was trying to frame these ideas in ways that would make sense to us. So he starts in another place. That's when he started to talk about Adam. That Adam, I'll just go briefly through it, that Adam was whole. He didn't really need anyone except a good relationship with his father. But since he couldn't see his father and his father couldn't spend all his time with him, he was lonely, so to speak, so God broke him into two parts. And those two parts, being male and female, had half of them missing, and they knew that they weren't complete product anymore. And subconsciously they knew that. And there was a great need for the part of them that was missing because the wholeness had been divided into two parts. So even in subconscious condition, Adam was addicted to Eve and Eve addicted to Adam because they possessed the missing part, in a sense, almost like one mind being divided into two.
This is the newest image of Three Eye Atlas.
Oh, wow. Wow, look at that. Jeez. Who's putting that up?
BP Earthwatch.
Wow.
I don't know where it came from.
It looks like an eye, or,
Yes, it does. I don't know if it's like the heat signatures. We should have looked that up before.
Right, these are all the different colors of the particles, or he's enhanced them, the colors.
No,
He didn't?
No, he's just zooming in on it. On the image that was released by, I don't know, because we're not listening to it. I thought you would want to see that though, because it does.
It almost looks like an embryo with a baby inside of it.
Yeah, right.
You
And
know?
so the comments were saying something about it looking like a force field around it.
Wow. What a picture. I don't know if you could see it. I turned it to the screen.
Yeah, well, people can go look at it.
Yeah, look at, it's the new BP Earthwatch, I believe.
It's called the real BP
the real
Earthwatch.
The real BP Earthwatch.
Let's see.
I've been following him for a long time, many years. And he's the reason why I have a bunch of pictures.
Gemini North.
Gemini North.
Gemini North is on the Hawaiian Islands.
Hawaiian Islands.
There's no tail. It has an anti-tail.
Which is normal for a comet to have. Anti-tail, an ion tail, they call it also.
Yeah, he said it looked like an egg too, an embryo. He says he 3D objects. Anyway, you'll have to look at that. It's a not that long of a video to get an understanding of what he's saying on that. That was just on
neat.
my thing, so I was looking at it. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you so much.
No, I'm glad you did. That was fun. It's good to see. So Adam and Eve were like one mind being divided in two, but that didn't mean that the mind was incomplete, because the quality of mind, in other words, the mind itself wasn't divided into two. Well, wait. Yeah, it did say it was like that, almost like that. But it didn't mean that the mind was incomplete. So that's the difference. It's divided in two, but it's not incomplete. But the design of the house, the physical vehicle that the mind is occupying, caused them to be very incomplete condition, needing each other. So then he goes on to talk about how that each of the students' bodies will also have a body that's incomplete and in varying degrees have tried to change the vehicle into more of a whole vehicle, being aware of even subconscious missing something. Adam missed a proper relationship with his God. What Adam and Eve missed was each other and a better relationship with God. What has remained in whatever degree of emptiness or lacking, whatever degree of completeness, you have retained, you have transferred to your older member. So in a sense, you are addicted to your older member to that degree. And whatever vehicle is missing, you have transferred to your older member, and your vehicle is also missing. So that means if you change your behaviors from what you would normally be doing into the behaviors that your older member is, uh, his kind of behaviors, uh, then uh, then your vehicle is going to be missing those behaviors, and but you're and you're transferring that, well, actually love to your older member, and that's the addiction. Because when you're giving up the human addictions, you're in the name of your older member, so to speak, because you know you can trust what they give us, or to some degree. I'm getting boggled with that, but um, anyway, so. Uh, but this explains, why all of us probably have some degree of um, incompleteness that we are looking to satisfy uh, through others and through whatever activities that we have. That
What's original sin again?
well, the way they say that, it's
It almost seems like that would be the first
well, the Catholics would say that
separation.
original sin is actually the S word. I don't know why they say
No,
that though.
no. The original sin is we're born with sin. When
Because
you're a
of Adam's
baby,
fall, we're
right,
born with sins.
right. When
So
you're,
the original sin is what? Uh, I
it's
forgot what they said that was.
well, sin is separate anything that separates us from God.
Right,
So by Adam being wanting
right.
Eve,
Wanting Eve,
that was the original
wanting.
sin and his separation from God right there, which
Right,
is, was
that's right.
one
So
separation.
that's one separation.
And then Eve became another separation
Right,
because he became addicted to her because half
right,
of his mind was in her
right, right.
and hers and his, I guess. And then both of their minds
I
were in
think
their
both
older
of them
member's
had the
mind.
mind, except I don't know if he had a different, well, a different part of it, I guess.
Well, like T and Do had talked about later, or maybe it was just Do, I can't remember. that when they had children, that their minds further split
Right,
into those children.
right.
A
That the process.
percentage. Well, I
Right.
could be wrong about that percentage.
No, no. I think.
Can't remember. To be
Yeah, I
honest.
don't know if it was percentage or
I
not.
know I
I don't
said it
remember that
so like
clearly.
I thought I knew what I was talking
No, that's good though. I'm glad you. It's
about.
good to catch ourselves in the things that we're trying to relay. Because we can easily put in our own ideas about it. I do it all the time, and I try to catch myself. Well, maybe I don't do it all the time, but I do it enough to where I know
Well,
that I
we
do
all
it.
do it. It's just
Yeah, it's part of
yeah.
our program. In fact, it's actually
Behavior.
it can be to our detriment if we end up liking better the thoughts that we have than our older members. Unless, well, I mean, it's like, well, anyway, with this whole belief system, that makes sense what I said. But if somebody doesn't believe in this entire way of thinking, then it probably wouldn't make sense what I said. But anyway, let me move on. Let me see if anything in the chat room can save me from myself.
It's a tough. I don't even know the word. Tired.
The reason why he was saying that you're transferring to your older member regardless. If you're looking to this older member as your teacher, then you're transferring to them your
They're picking up what you're putting down.
yeah, whatever you're putting down, they're picking up on. So if you're putting out ideas or thoughts or even suggestions or um, ways of thinking about the past or of things in the human kingdom you used to like to do, or whatever it is that can be occupying your mind, um, and you're also wanting to uh, have what your older member has on his mind, then there's a mixture coming to your older member of that. And in that mixture, the older member it's like a telephone connection. And it's probably got that kind of a real technology to it. We just don't understand how that works. But so when he has a mixture, when the phone line is on, in other words, when he's got the receiver up to his ear, so to speak, okay, uh, because he's got his mind on other things. He doesn't have all his mind on what you're doing. In fact, very little of his mind might be on what you were doing, but he's got an open channel there. It's like a computer system can have a whole bunch of open channels, you know.
Open tabs.
Yeah, like open tabs. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Open tabs, and this one's like put on hold a little bit because I got to work on this one, and
And you got
uh,
too
and
many
and he
tabs
doesn't
open
want to be interfered by
sometimes.
that one, so he even turns off the volume of the when you minimize it, right? You don't even get the what's happening at all. But once in a while he'll check in on you and see what you're thinking, and he'll get a reading, and he'll know right away if there's things in it that he doesn't want to have in his brain, in his mind, in his computer, in his uh, uh, energy. He doesn't want to think about that. It's like, let's say a dog was wanting the master to, be a pet. They're a pest. They just want constant attention from the master. That's going to give them this and give them that, and you just don't. You already gave them a treat, and they're done with it. Go lay down. Don't be a pest. And so that's what it might be like. Kind of an equivalent kind of thing relative to the older members. And so, but then sometimes they might think, well, you know what? I'm gonna allow that consciousness to be with, and I'll look at it, and maybe there's something I can do to help that individual with that. And so they'll, and like from the next level perspective, they would probably have something to say to give instructions to students that were no longer students anymore. They're still students, but they're always students relative to their older member. But they're relative to each other, co-crew members with different experiences. So there's some crew members that have more experience than others. And then they have instructions on what to maybe do for somebody that has this kind of an issue on their mind. And it would be something that wouldn't be just random or something just thought up of, this applies. And they may be able to send that, they may say that, well, that's being sent out already through this or through that, that they can pick up on it if they pull hard enough. Because they have to want the desire to have the highest source in their minds. And so if that person,
source.
yeah, higher source in their minds. So if they
I
are
was just
focusing,
thinking of Rakoti's website.
yeah, no, higher source was not the Rakoti website.
Oh no,
No, that was
the groups.
the group's technical website generation company name. I think
I believe you are
higher
right.
source, right?
Yeah. I was just going through
What was the name
all
of
of her
their
stuff.
friends
So
that Rio was working for? His group, his business.
since I was going through all the cabinets, the
Yeah,
drawers, I came
I
across
don't remember
the.
the name of that one. But and anybody out there knows better because I'm forgetting certain things. Well, let me know. But and if you hear me saying something that you think might not have come from Tiando's mind, I mean the intention of it at least, or one intention of it, one aspect of it, you can bring it up, and ask me about it. Um, but I wouldn't, that's not to me an open door to just, try to come up with stuff. I mean, you can, but, I'm probably not going to be able to, I don't know. I don't want to get into debating. I know there's some people that have tried to, make it their thing to, constantly, well, never mind. Don't need to go to a negative place. Because that's another thing that's in this tape 289 in a bigger way that maybe I'll jump to that. Well, first I'll go to the chat. Nothing new there, so I'll jump to that. See if it's coming up. Yeah, I was talking about the telephone. Let me get into that a little more because Tiendo talked about that in a number of tapes that they felt like, their older member, like T's older member, even if that might have been T's other part of T's mind, uh, who knows? I think it might be more, I don't know.
Well, but Doe did believe that T had an older member.
Yeah, Doe knew that T had an older member.
Yeah, so
Right.
it wasn't just another part of him.
Right. So I shouldn't be interjecting that confusion to that. Because it was bringing in my own mind an example of that. So thanks for that. I'm glad to get that updated. But, so, doesn't, if you don't get a response, let's say you're asking the highest source you can imagine for, help. Or if you're talking to T and Doe, trying to talk to Doe directly, or thinking about them as T and Doe together is, I think, fine as well. But Doe is our immediate link to anybody that believes in him. So you don't want to bypass T with a question that,
Or you don't want to bypass Doe.
yeah, and you don't want to bypass Doe, I mean, right, with a question to T if you want to follow in this direction. And but if you
Simple
do, you never
question.
know whether the next level will honor that and whether T will come help you with something.
Like in Christianity, like you can still pray directly to God.
Right. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
It's just salvation comes through Jesus. And if you didn't accept Jesus,
Right. Because God gives you Jesus to form your bond with, marry, form your commitment to.
and He gave us dough to form the cook.
Right. And so T gave us dough. So, right. It's a good perspective. Yeah. And it so so sometimes when you ask a question or looking for help in some way, if you don't feel like you're getting a response, and you have to give it time too. It's not like you're going to get an immediate response. The next level may give you something quickly, but they may not because maybe they got other things they're doing
They
at the
got
time,
you.
and they don't see that spot on the computer screen, and they don't have instructions to do anything with it. If they do see it, you know,
Maybe you're asking isn't right.
they may put you on hold, and they may put you over here in this bucket, so that the ones that have the assignment of actually delivering the particular procedure uh, can look at it. So um, you can imagine there can be all kinds of requests in the human kingdom to the highest source. Somebody's going in for an operation on they're on the gurney and they haven't gone out yet, and they're really afraid of dying, and so they say to God, maybe please help me with getting through this. I would say that. I would be saying that. I'd be saying it to T and Do. But and then what I would do when I follow up with that, I would say, but your will, not mine. That I want whatever you want for me, because that is the overview I have, especially when there are circumstances that are that. Um, but that can be for any circumstances that are difficult, and even beneficial circumstances. I imagine you have to, to me, if you let's say you got uh, big help with something that you wanted, uh, um, you know, to the degree that you want to be of service to the next level, then you would say, if what do you want me to do with this now that I've got it? And what can I do to help serve? Or you could say, what happens with it is your will. I don't, but I was thinking of doing this and doing this and doing this, and you might get a feeling like that's okay, that's okay. And there's something else you might actually think you want to do, and you might put some work into it and invest something in it, time and money or whatever, and then something might happen, and you might think, well, you know what? I don't really like that direction that's going, so maybe I won't go in that direction, and you might have a sense that the next level was helping you see that too. So you don't make mistakes in directions that we choose to take. So it's like developing a feeler is the way they talked about it in 1975. That you were developing your feeler that was kind of thought of as like the solar plexus region of the body, the way I understood it. Feeling your way into circumstances and out of circumstances and, ways of thinking, whatever it is, doesn't have any limits to it that I'm aware of. To where it is developing an extrasensory perception that we all have. to some degree, I believe. I don't know if anybody in the human kingdom that's living doesn't have it, because uh, I think the mind carries a certain amount of it into the vehicle. So it's not dependent on the glandular system of the vehicle entirely. I don't think there might be some relationships there that I don't understand in the secretion of hormones and things, but um, we have to, I think, not have to, but to me, I want to keep in mind that the mind is actually uh, stronger than the vehicle. So the mind can make things happen in the vehicles. The mind can help the vehicle heal from a difficult circumstance when it believes that it can do that. And if it's tapping into the next level mind to the degree that it believes in it, it can actually affect the healing of the vehicle. Um, but uh, but that degree of mind tapping into the uh, um, uh, can also lose that faith, so to speak. And that generally happens because the lower forces continue to battle on us, and the genes of the body and everything continues to operate on us, and the ways of the world and the solutions that the world gives us, which some of them can be excellent and some of them can be good band-aids and some of them could be detrimental, more detrimental than they are beneficial. But all things can work together for good if somebody continues to look to the Lord for their guidance whenever they decide to and choose to, and then learn to recognize. Because I feel like, I don't know, I've gotten help through a lot of minor things that to some other people would be minor, like in dental work and dealing with things and stuff. So let me move on. Let's see if there's anything in the chat happening. Nope, nobody's talking. I wonder if I'm still actually working. I should take a look at that.
Because people were.
There's 0 people, no, 6 people watching. But nobody likes what I'm talking about. I get 0 likes.
Didn't I like? Oh, I guess maybe
I can like myself, right?
I'll like it. You can
I
like
just,
yourself.
I can like myself. I mean, I don't really like myself that much, but
Yes, you do.
well, I like myself more when I'm talking about Tiendo.
There's 3 likes.
But I don't dislike myself either. I dislike certain things that I think and do, you know. Yeah, we can get into either mode too much, you know. Being too pleased with self or not being pleased with self at all would be two opposite extremes. Um, but you know what? I didn't talk about what my title was about, or the wow, the update and people watching just went way up, and then down again by one. Went up to 7 and then down to 6.
So that's not way up.
At least, well, way up relative. Now it's down to 5. It's falling rapidly.
Well, that might have been when I jumped in for a second.
Oh yeah, maybe. So I'm going to go through this a little bit. No, that's not what I wanted. There it is. And this was, I was talking about Was the great shaking of Revelation 11 the sixth trumpet's second woe? Okay, so let me give a little history on this, if you're not familiar with these verses in a chapter, I think it's 9, essentially, of the Revelation materials. And it says there's three woes, and they're associated with the fifth, sixth, and seventh trumpet soundings. Now, the trumpet soundings are the delivery of next level information to the planet. Okay, that's it's vibration, it's reverberation. It's described as a sound because they're sound waves. Because they literally are a type of radio wave of thoughts, but there can be also other waves in there. I'm not, I don't know what different way, the way that humans describe the waves. I don't know if the next level describes them that way. And the next level may have given humans those ideas of how to describe the waves in the first place. Or it came through the space aliens that knew about that technical way of describing things. That's, some of the thoughts that I have about it. Anyway, so it could be part of the evolution too. So evolution of mind I'm talking about. Um, so so the three woes. So when I first started to write the book that I wrote,
Oh, what's that?
What?
Is your chat okay?
Yeah, and I
Oh,
can have
okay.
it up here. I have it. I popped it out, so it's right here. Why can't I see that?
There it is. There it is.
Now I can see, but I have to give it a second to register before I change screens. Um, Jay Moore says, do you think Doe and team are waiting for you still? No, they're not waiting for me. No, well, I mean, okay, in a sense, they could be waiting for somebody to make a choice.
All the souls.
They could be waiting for all of us to make our choices of what we believe in and going with that. And if what we believe in, according to Doe and their team, is something that they feel represents what they determine is growth of the mind, and growth of the mind would be growth of the soul in that example, then they would be determining what grade in school that individual was in and whether to save them for a future opportunity to be back in the human kingdom during times when older members are coming incarnate in order to carry on with their lessons towards graduation. So in that way, they could be waiting, but they're not waiting from the perspective that they need something from us. Um, uh, Except to where they do determine the amount of time or whatever the cutoff is of when they're not gonna be looking to choose to save new souls. And Junodi talks about this in the last thing that she said in the away team document. That it's just a matter of time on how long the next level is going to allow things to proceed, and that there's no competition with the space aliens really. They don't really have a say in how long the next level keeps the opportunity open. As long as we're in human vehicles, uh, our individual opportunity is open to grow further. And we need these vehicles in order to grow further. That's why, because we're humans and we have lessons that come from the vehicles, because what we're doing is we're gaining strength of mind. When somebody is conquering addictions, they're gaining strength of mind. It's that practical. But there's all kinds of addictions to all kinds of thinking, acting that are not next level thinking and acting. And we know what some of them are. Like, for instance, the real primitive ones are like, you should not kill other humans. Okay, so that's a
Okay.
primitive lesson. To recognize that's the next level behavior. They don't kill each other in the next level. They don't even come close to that. They don't abuse each other. They don't lie and cheat and deceive other people to get them to believe in them. They don't have to do that. They just tell the truth. What's relative to what individuals are ready to hear. And they know how to identify that in a civilizational way. But yet they don't assume things. They don't like, they know that everybody's got willpower and they want that to be the way it is, because then people have to choose whether to look to them or look to the lower forces, which basically means the entire human kingdom that's not looking to them, because it's literally two types of mind here. Mind from the human kingdom, and the space aliens have that mind, but they have a mixture also of some next level mind. But whatever next level mind they have is it's such a small voice. I mean, it's such a weak voice in their minds that they've converted it into something else. And thinking of themselves as being the source of all their knowledge, and that they can get more knowledge, but even from help with other people, but it's going to be uh, their own. They're going to, I don't know, maybe they think that they're all knowing. I don't know exactly how anybody can get to that condition, but some people act so confidently about things. And you see that in the human kingdom, right? Uh, when you see someone in the human kingdom saying that they made mistakes, uh, that's a good thing for them to own up to mistakes. Although, if you own up to mistakes with some people, then you'll lose your ability to still do what you feel like needs to be done, right? So, or that you want to do, and so that becomes an avenue of compromising that when you're in the public eye, because people are trying to set you up and trying to take you down, so that or be in competition because they think that you threaten what you have, they threatens them in some way. Or you're just angry with them because they seem to have something that you don't have but you want in some way. And this can all go towards that whole way that we've all been growing. All human beings have been growing with this uh, desire to um, find what we're missing,
Mm.
and and looking for something that you know we want from life, and and that's all natural to happen, and 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 some of the times that we're looking for things, uh, that doesn't mean that those things are wrong to look to, not at all. No, those if somebody's got the right the motivation at the next level determines is a good motivation of some sort. Uh, um, then by their determination of what is goodness, then they will give you things to satisfy the things that you want, so that you can learn that maybe that's not what you wanted. But at the same time, you can also learn that other things happen because of going after what you want, that they know that you might find, that'll help you recognize uh, wanting more and more from their minds. They're not beating around the bush of what they want us to grow towards any more than a child, a parent of a child, wants their student to learn to become a adult, become a functioning person, that cares about others, and all the ways that we may instinctively want for our children. I've had a child, and Kathy's has a child that's grown. Both our children are on their own, so to speak, and
They grown.
yeah, in degrees, right?
Mhm.
And and which is the way it's meant to be. It's like the bird, saying to the chicks in the nest, "Well, it's time for you to go fly." you know, and the little birdie might say, "No, no." And
Or they will, go running.
they will go running, right? Say, "Yeah, I want to get as far away as I can," and then and then the good parent's going to say, "Go, try your wings, but do it with some smarts, maybe." And the good parent's not going to want them to just fall on their face. They want to feel like they gave them enough growing up that they can stand on their own, and some of that they can get from the genes. You know, strong genes that can overcome pretty difficult adversity, and then some others might not be able to overcome certain adversity as easily. But other adversity they may be able to overcome really easily. So that's why we can't judge other people and what adversities they have with them, because we never know when all of a sudden they can get that switch turned on to where all of a sudden something occurs to them and they think, wow, I don't have to be doing this anymore. I can go in this direction. And that direction looks like a lot more positive than this direction. And so I'm not going to listen to those voices that are telling me to go in that direction. Because if it's not fixing something, if it's not helping the circumstance, then uh, or it's hindering too much, um, then there's probably a better way. But uh, anyway, my philosophy, which I think I got from T and Do's mind. You can hear it in the tapes, I believe. I hope I'm not distorting it. I'm not using their exact examples. Uh, so yes, in a sense, the part of that question, Jay Moore, entails that they are observing us, and I believe that's completely true. That particular team of Doe and the students that graduated. I'm not saying they're all observing us, because some of them may have been given a different task that isn't in the observation of the watchers. Like observing us is like the minimum task there is to do in the next level. It's one of the most elementary tasks because it's observing. But even observing though has its challenges to it, because if you're reporting what you're observing, which is the way of the next level, to have a system of reporting in the tasks that we do, so other people that have more experience can look at what you're reporting and can decide whether there's something that they want to attend to that's happening on the earth, for instance. So you never know what the next level could be doing. They could have a crew in a spacecraft that humans can't see, can't detect, that can come very close, can land on the planet, can go inside the planet, can go inside the ocean, can go park itself on the moon, whatever it wants to do, whatever it feels it needs to do in order to do the task they need, in order to observe what they want to observe. And that could be observing what's happening in the White House or in the doghouse, whatever it is. Uh, Being silly, but uh, they may have a department that is observing, what's happening in the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, and they have labs for all those things. And who knows many departments there are in each lab, and the specialists that are working on different projects. And they may have a lot of different projects they're working on at the same time in degrees. So, anyway, so yes, so I believe they are observing us. I'm going to move on.
Are you about ready to? It's almost 9.
Mm-hmm. It's almost bedtime.
It's past bedtime.
Yeah, it is. So,
Even though we don't know what our schedule.
so let me just go through a general on this Revelation
Yeah.
11, which I'm calling the second woe, because this is after the sixth trumpet, before the seventh trumpet. Because the seventh trumpet comes after this, and I don't know if the order is right in this exactly, but there's an earthquake that happens. This is after they've been the graduates have been called back to heaven, back to the next level spacecraft, and so send up to heaven in a cloud is talking about going up into that hidden spacecraft, and they're saying at the same hour. An hour in that context is relative to the different frames of time space that they use in this material. Uh, that can that generally represents, like, you hear Jesus talking about the watchman comes in a certain hour and things like that, and fifth hour and the sixth hour. So he's actually got, he's differentiating in time frames of certain tasks. So that's what it is. So there is a time frame that he's talking about, that within this time frame, there of after they left, and that hour, by definition, uh, um, the way that T and O even joked about talking about it was like 40 years, which is interesting because it's that 40-year time period. Uh, but that's with the 1,000 years to one day on Earth. No, one day in the next level is like 1,000 years on Earth. From I think somewhere in the New Testament, one of the disciples of Jesus talked about it that way. And I think Jesus acknowledged that as well.
Oh, you didn't talk about your shirt that you're wearing.
Oh, I didn't talk about the shirt that I'm wearing.
He's being sent back down to Earth. Chloe from Gray Face Museum made that shirt for us.
I don't know if you can see it.
Specifically for us.
That's right. She did.
And we could have her make some more.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, we could.
and we can have those available.
So that can be like a soul coming down to the earth in order to have an interface with the human vehicles, which is the way it works. That's
Well, and
what
I
they do.
believe that she can change
To make them look a little different.
like they're going up instead of coming down.
Well, we don't want to assume that we're going up, though, so I'd rather...
I want to go up.
You want to go up? Okay, well then we can do both. Maybe I had a thought that we could do both.
You can wear that one.
Get some going up and some coming down.
I don't want to come down here long enough.
Yeah, no, I
Or
hear
maybe
you.
not. Thy will be done, not.
Yeah, right. So, okay, so this, uh, so I'm just going to go through this a little bit more. Um, so let's say during that same 40-year period, the same hour they're talking about. So, you know what? I left off something that I began to talk about with the woes, and that I determined my best guess of what the first trumpet sounding was when they crashed. Not the first trumpet, but the fifth trumpet. But it's the fifth trumpet that had a woe associated with it. And I think that was what took place after the crashes happened in the 40s and 50s and even 60s. Um, and so the woe might have been, um, well, the cover up of all the UFO stuff and alien stuff, all that was woeful. In other words, it was an exclamation to, that pertains to like a warning to humans to not go against the next level. And the way that you would not go against the next level would be to uh, provide avenues to so that the human kingdom could grow to learn about the reality of the next level that those crashes represented by giving them biological material that their vehicles were composed of, that they were leaving in the wreckage, that they intentionally allowed to happen. Not all of them, because some of them were facsimile crashes done by the space aliens, according to Doe. Now, Doe didn't come to that realization easily. I think right up into the end, he talked about that as a, a pretty big likelihood that that's the way it happened. That's the way the souls from the next level came to the planet by getting rid of whatever vehicles they have, the ones that came that had vehicles in the next level before that. Because there were souls that came to the Earth environment, probably in those same spacecrafts, but they didn't have vehicles. But that was the delivery method, and they knew that was going to stimulate the human kingdom in a huge way. That it has. And I'm not saying that it hasn't proceeded the way the next level was approving of, because they've got their hand on the pulse of the human kingdom, and they can even see you know through anybody that wants to be their camera. They can experience more of the first-hand thinking of certain people in their observations of what they observe and hear and see and and interpret. Well, I don't know if they can actually get the information without the interpretation of the brain. I would think so. I know T and Doe felt like that's what they felt like was happening to them when they were first waking up in 1972, 3, and 4, mostly, and 5 to some degree too. Well, 2, 3, and 4, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, and then half of 5, because it was April, that'd be 4 months into 5, but depends on when you start counting. So that might have been like a 3.5 year period from when they first met in the spring of 72. And to when they finish the first harvest, not the first harvest, but the first um, gathering of those class members that were returned and that were souls that were that had captured a vehicle. In a sense, it's a capture of the vehicle, and and that the vehicle ends up wanting, enjoying that being captured. And even though the vehicle is then challenged, but that determines whether that capturing stays or not, becomes growth or not. The time, the years in the classroom. And that's the same for everybody's got that same circumstance now too, where if that we would want our vehicles to be captured by the returning soul that's from the next level, in the next level's keeping, because they recognize the next level's older members. That shows that they're in the keeping. But nothing ever is assumed, and so that person needs to stay in the keeping, and that can take different pathways. It can be in and out of the keeping, so to speak, and still, as long as they keep on coming back, then they keep on growing. And if they don't come back, well, the next level determines whether to save that soul for a future opportunity. And it may be that they need to, be in a different vehicle, because they also have backups vehicles. At least they did for the members of the class while T and Do were teaching. They talked about that they felt like there were there were more vehicles in the classroom than there were minds of that caliber ready to take them over, in case one of them didn't make it because it had too many open wounds for influences to take advantage of. Wounds relative to the next level's growth of a soul. And that can be, like something happened to them, to that vehicle, literally, physically, mentally, that was such a big characteristic to overcome that it wasn't possible for that vehicle to really, for that mind to take over that soul, returning soul, to take over that vehicle. But it gave it a good shot before they recognized that it wasn't capable of doing it. And so the next level would do things to help uh, um, that soul get detached from that vehicle. And we don't know if that's happened to the former members of the group, myself included, to whereas another soul that's working with me now. I don't think so. I think the soul that was working with me while I was in the classroom is the same soul, but that individual has a little more distance from me. But I could be wrong about that. But then probably does come to help at times. It doesn't really matter, because we're not talking about like somebody um, being of a higher caliber of growth, being because of having been in the classroom, because that's not the way that next level members think. And so if I was thinking that way, it would be an influence that would be thinking that way. But that doesn't mean that I deny the teachings. And so it's a matter of, if I can be a servant, and I'm speaking for, I believe, anybody potentially that goes in this direction, that you can be a servant and you can know that you're serving. I mean, you can have a strong feeling, let me put it that way, rather than making it strictly of the mind knowing. Because we can trick ourselves into thinking we know something that we don't. So even using that word is kind of needs some qualifications. But if we keep on going back to the highest source and we keep on recognizing that as Tian-Do, then I think we're on track. And to not assume that is part of being on track and to keep on looking. To not think, oh, I got it, so I'm good. I can go over here and do this, and then never ask my older member for help with anything, or guidance for anything. And that would be the loss of the person that's not asking. But in the human kingdom, they might not be seen as a loss. In the human kingdom, other people would think, well, that's a good thing for you not to be connected in that direction. Because look what it led to, in 1997, right? Except what they don't know is what kind of caliber of soul was in those vehicles. To where they knew that they could trust their older members in whatever degree that their vehicles might have had distrust. They were overriding those vehicles. And that was by choice, and that's not easy to do. Just like it's not easy to override a vehicle where you're having thoughts that are negative and you know they're negative, but you can't get out of it at the moment. You find yourself caught in it. And you've got to work up a routine to regain balance, regain some more objectivity, regain some more well-being sense. Because I don't know about you all, but I hate being disturbed. But sometimes I dwell in it for hours. I let all kinds of negative thoughts go through my mind. It's a waste of time. Not that positives can't come out of it. Positives can come of it, but the biggest positive that can come out of it is not accepting it in the first place. If we can grow to that, but doesn't mean that we're not going to be bombarded all the time or occasionally and re-bombarded with negative thoughts. But we can get to a place to where we can feel the feelings starting and we can not allow them to have their way with us. And those periods of time can be shorter and shorter to where we recover. And this is an example to me that we each are experiencing probably all the time or frequently enough to where we know that there's reality to this. And this is the way that Tian-Do were teaching. And the whole human kingdom has these ideas in them. So there's many humans that know that, when you have something that's causing you all kinds of problems, if you can get rid of it out of your mind, then you can overcome that thing, that is trying to drag you down into the dumps or make you want to leave your vehicle when you have all kinds of things you can learn in these human vehicles. It's a practical reality that we learn. But if we think that we're going to solve our problems just by getting rid of our vehicle, well, you know, it's a distorted view. So So the great shaking I was talking about is this word earthquake used in Revelation 11:13. And if you actually look at the Greek word, it's seismos. It's a it's also used one time as a tempest, but it's also used as a commotion. But the primary, it's used as earthquake 13 times, but it's a shaking. And so I think that the events that happened around the September uh, 1, 1 time period uh, were physically a shaking. It doesn't take a whole lot to shake the earth so that seismographs pick it up. There's recently some things that happened that they recognize seismic waves from, of maybe some explosion that happened recently that they got registered, like, point this or point one or two or three or whatever the small amount is on the Richter scale. So if a building falls down, it's probably going to make a pretty big seismic wave. And I heard people talking about that as, you know, it could be felt quite a distance away. I don't know what the distance was, but and there were two of them. Well, actually, three of them, I guess. With wow, three of them. I hadn't thought about that way with that three idea. But anyway, but the so that's what I began to think. Well, the reason I was so what was the woe after what the government did with covering up the truth, and the Vietnam War, I think, is part of that. Um, um, and and the beginning of the cooperation or the development that came after World War II and after the Korean War, uh, that damaged millions of people, but their minds. From dealing with wars, damages your mind. Both, I think, the victims and even though the ones that are behind the things that the victims go through, uh, I'm not saying anything can't be overcome. Everything potentially can be overcome. So it can become a major lesson, but there is next level help for those that go through those experiences, I believe. so, um, so this isn't a judgment of anybody, but the behavior of taking other people's lives, especially like the way that governments do that, and think of it as collateral damage, that's not next level way. And so anyway, so that's why I think that's all part of the woe. It's what the humans do after those events. And the way they deceit is a big part of that. And denying those things happened. They didn't necessarily have to deny those things happened, but that didn't mean they had to publicize them either. Because there was only going to be certain people that were going to really dig into that information to learn the truth. So it's just like now. The government can say that they saw a UFO and it did this and it did that and blah, blah, blah. And there's a certain amount of people that think that's a bunch of baloney. They didn't see that. And they could be lying about a bunch of stuff. They could be fabricating things. And but there can also be space alien things that are happening that are not under their control, like some of those drone things. I wonder if some of the drone things were a combination of human things and space alien things. Um, or even space aliens giving humans the ideas of doing certain things. That's another way that it could be seen. And how that meets what Doe was, potentially meets what Doe was saying about there being waves of of um, spacecrafts coming in from different parts of the heavens, deep space heavens from the next level, and from the space aliens from the near uh, outer space regions, because space aliens aren't allowed to leave a certain area. I don't know if that allowing to leave is related to their not having the enough of the energy system that they need to have in order to be able to still maneuver things in certain directions, or to enter into the wormhole or whatever highway there might be to other parts of the exterior to the solar system. I don't know if that's what that means, or I don't know if they can even operate within the entire solar system, because their minds may not have developed vehicles that can pilot spacecrafts, beyond the Van Allen belt or whatever, for very long before they deteriorate. It doesn't mean that they can't ever go through it, maybe, but maybe they just can't. Maybe they lose certain characteristics, or their vehicles suffer from it. And I think the astronauts that went through that Van Allen belt to get to the moon, I believe, have experienced different physical difficulties because of that. But you don't know that the radiation in those belts, in small doses, couldn't even be okay for a human vehicle to handle. It might depend on the genes of the vehicle and their upbringing in that vehicle. Of course, and how they lived and what they ate and the chemistry of it. And whatever degree of mind that they have, that or soul associated with, if the next level happened to give a deposit of a soul body to that vehicle, that can also even benefit from a certain amount of radioactivity. I'm saying some of the possibilities. I'm not specifically speaking to degrees of dealing with things well or not. Anyway, so let me see. So the city falls in this Revelation 11:13, and it says a tenth part fell, and I was thinking about that as the 10 tribes of Israel, because two of them broke off um, from Israel, after Moses left, and it was Benjamin and Judah broke off from the 12 tribes, and so that's how I was thinking about that. And it says that, and were slain, and in the earthquake, in other words, the event of, now that tenth part of the city represents the people in it more than the buildings themselves. because that's what the next level is all about. Souls with human vehicles. So that's what these revelation materials are talking about. And, and, uh, and or it doesn't have to necessarily be a soul in a human vehicle, but the spirit that's developing in a human vehicle, which is the spirit is what ends up evolving um, to recognize the next level mind and gravitate to it, and then that spirit then gets transferred to that soul. I don't know if it gets transferred or it just gets fluffed off, or while the vehicle is still alive, I think it's like it doesn't have its own will anymore because it's given itself over to the next level will. So it doesn't want to do those things it did before when it was in the human kingdom. Once it's connected with the older members to a degree to where they're they're increasing their development in keeping at bay the lower forces. That's what it's about. It's not that's all different departments of life. So if you got a demon, a discarnate or a space alien soul uh, sending you thoughts that make you want to think about losing your vehicle, well, that's not coming from the next level. They don't make you think anyway. They don't. That's not part of their mind to conjure people up or to convince people of anything. I don't want to convince you of anything, but I know that Tiando's mind, if somebody's really looking, can be pretty convincing. But that doesn't mean that uh, you know. That means that you're going to gravitate to their mind, and that means you're going to gravitate towards what they left behind for us to consume in mind. Because if you don't gravitate to that, you're just not going to grow in their mind. Because you're not going to see the examples of how they thought and all different circumstances of those examples. You're not going to relate it to reality. You're not going to have your life to apply it to whatever degree you can, to apply the tools that they gave us for taking over these vehicles in a positive way if you don't have a vehicle. It's common sense that we need these vehicles in order to uh, um, conquer the influences that would try to hold us back. Except says, good shirt. I should order one of those. Yeah. Uh, you know, finally, huh? Now, the key with this shirt is knowing whose spacecraft and the individuals on the spacecraft that we want to appeal to, whether it's going up or being sent down to do a task, like souls are right now. Souls have tasks to do on this planet right now. A bunch of them. I don't know if it's 144,000 or what. Doesn't have to be a specific number, but it could be a specific number. We don't know how that works. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter who is that. It's not the people that were born in the Middle East. It's not the people that were born in Alaska or South America. It doesn't make any difference where you're born. Wherever the next level decided to give a deposit of a beginner soul pocket or a deposit of a soul pocket that's growable to a little greater grade in school, that's up to the next level. And it doesn't have anything to do with your intellect and, how much you can, how well you can code algorithms on the computer or develop rocket fuel or give a good speech. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with where someone's heart is in relationship to wanting closeness with the creators of this planet and the life forms on it. And that's not the space aliens. They didn't create this planet. They didn't even admit that to some of the contactees, that there were other individuals that they didn't understand where they were coming from, that they would occasionally become aware of. I remember hearing that testimony from, I think the name of the individual was considered to be a she, and the name was Samyase. Samyase, which is very close to one of the names that I think Enoch talked about, by the way. And that she was the one that staged, according to the story, which I don't doubt, to Billy Meyer, and to where she came out of the spacecraft and answered his questions during one or more of his contacts with that individual. And he learned that they had families. See, that's not the next level. And she had long hair, which, that's the depiction of a mammal. Because, all humans come from a female, regardless of how long their hair is, but they come from a female vehicle. And so that's why you see that talked about in the way of, I think in Revelation 9 somewhere, it says that these individuals have the hair like a female, like a woman. I mean, why couldn't they just say a woman, right? But the hair actually represents being like the horse, grounded in human behaviors and ways. And hair is considered to be very sensuous also. And so that's part of it. That members of the next level don't have that. They're not sensuous beings. But they have senses, they have feelings, but it's just not expressed to one another in physical ways or emotional ways or sexuality. More like that Cocoon movie. Anyway, so, and it says that after this 10 part of the city fell, and in the earthquake was slain of men 7,000, uh, um, that word thousand can also be interpreted as tribes. And the word seven can actually be interpreted as the last tribe, because seven represents the final. Uh, and it could be the seventh opportunity to overcome the world, is one way of looking at it. And, and, and slain is the same word, apokataino, which means separate. Um, which means separate from death and also separate by the death of the vehicle. And so everybody in the human kingdom is probably going to lose their vehicle. I would say that. I'm not going to say everybody because I don't have that overview. But the way that T and Do talked all the time, not taught, they didn't like lecture us. They gave talks, but they were always like, their talk was always like based on ideas that they wanted to talk about, yes, but those ideas would also go through all different kind of pathways sometimes. It wasn't like following like a script of some sort, except to go with their feeler about what to talk about. And what their feeler was doing was seeking what their older members would want to see talked about, older members outside the vehicle. So Do would be drawing on T's mind. And T was sitting with him for the first 10 years or so. And so he learned for himself that T was his older member. Not because T told him that she was the older member. Because Do had to experience overcoming the characteristics that would not see T as his older member. The ones that were in competition with her. Or that would judge her vehicle as being not as intelligent because it didn't have the vocabulary that his vehicle had. And, the worldliness that his vehicle had was another factor that he talked about in the tapes. It really shoots down, those tapes really shoot down all of those negative documentaries. All of them, really. With practical examples and practical recognition of the way people think and don't think. And, what kind of person the Beyond Human tapes do show us Do. But they're showing us Do trying to interface with people that hadn't been through what his students had been through and hadn't been through what he had gone through. Um, um, so of course he didn't, like he knew with his students that he could even joke about them in a way that was like playing with uh, not like an animal, because it was like playing with your child, and you knew the child could take it. It wasn't going to go on a downer because you made fun of how they would finish their older member sentences, like sorority or some of the things he said about students. Throughout the tapes, you hear him offering ways of thinking and acting to the students that was difficult for the students to take sometimes. Sometimes it was difficult for them to take, but they didn't express that it was outwardly. Sometimes a student would be crying a little bit. Um, while they were still attempting to see what Do was talking about. And then you can even see the student coming around during that meeting to recognizing, oh, okay, yeah, that's it. I'm accepting that thought. That's putting me down. And at the same time, that can be seen as, that he wasn't being nice to that student, to keep on talking and giving more of his mind, to not in a yelling way, although he did raise his voice. The one time I'm thinking about with Tsunodi, he did get a stronger voice at one point. And I think he might have had a stronger voice with Frank that time. I think that's why Frank was so upset by it. Like his laugh was a little stronger of a laugh. And because his mind knew that there was an influence that was uh, um, using uh, that student's vocal cords. Um, and that's not easy to, and I'm not saying that, I've also got influences that have used this vehicle. Okay, so I'm not putting anybody down by this. And I was corrected a number of times by T, and I was a little affected by it. I wish I would say that I was more affected by it than I was. But it shows how, um, well, it shows a couple things. I don't have to put myself down. It shows that maybe I was old enough to be able to handle it, but I wasn't old enough to not ask the question. Like when I asked T during one of the first meetings I had with her, with my partner and Doe and T sitting in a car. That was when T and Doe wanted to meet with each partnership in Wyoming, and I said, when we got into the car, I said, "Do you have any questions?" And and I said, "Well, why are you wearing eye makeup?" Because T had a little eyeliner. Maybe she had a little more than just a liner. She may have had some, I guess it's called mascara on the eyelashes, maybe a little bit. And so I asked that question, and uh, I think Doe kind of giggled a little bit, but T then said, "It's none of your business." And then they asked if you have any other questions, and I just like was, "Whoa, it's none of your business." Wow. So she didn't make excuses. She didn't try to, beat around the bush with me. It wasn't my business. And it showed that I didn't know who T was, or I wouldn't have asked that question. Not that I would be afraid to ask the question because I would get T's wrath, because T's wrath, it didn't come out in like a wrathful way. It was just, that's none of your business. I mean, it was a certain way. It was a clear way. I don't know if I'm depicting it very well. And that wasn't the first time I was corrected by T. There were a couple of other times too. And they were just plain talk, plain words, without any judgment in them that I could feel. Like, I don't feel like she was saying, "You're a terrible person," or "You got a demon in you." I don't think she was going to that, even though it might have been, uh, a discarnate influence that was, piping me up, perking me up to think that to think that this was another human I was sitting with. Because to my vehicle, of course, it wasn't clear that this person wasn't a human. I didn't know how to identify that. I just knew that right from the beginning that they had something that I wanted to be a part of. I felt like they knew things that I didn't know, and that there was nothing better that I could do with my life than to go in their direction. And I'd been through some life experiences, on my own. I wasn't like, totally naive to the world. Some people would say that I had quite a bit of life experience, but then compared to some people, I know I didn't. So I'm not like, full of myself in that regard. I had a lot of naivety about, and that question was showing naivety. Later on, Doe told us, after T had left, sometime after that, not specifically addressing that, but he referred to that moment in the car, and he said that what Soyoti didn't know is that T put on a little bit of makeup because she felt like she blended in better with the people her age in the world when she was, because they were always, every day, they were a lot of times, getting supplies or finding an auto part to bring back to the camp to install, to fix a car, or, they were doing all that. And there was a lot. There was close to 100 students. And, there were different needs and different things that were happening that I had no knowledge of, that they were handling. And so, but it doesn't matter what I think about it. It's the way T felt. She was doing it for a reason. She wasn't doing it to attract humans to her, or she wasn't doing it to try to look good for Doe. Not at all. I know that's not the case at all. She had pretty big eyes, her vehicle. You can, I don't know if you can get a good sense of them in the, I mean, the way I see her eyes, they're big. But maybe they weren't in her vehicle. Maybe I just see them that way because of knowing what kind of mind, some degree of what kind of mind occupies that vehicle. I don't really have I know I don't have a real clear sense of what kind of mind occupies that vehicle. But I know I have enough of it to know that there was no guile, there was no deceit in either of them. Even though you'll hear on one tape where Doe says, "I told you a lie about this," but it wasn't what humans would consider a lie, really. I forgot what it was now, but I just don't want to be, someone say, "Oh, you said you never," but he said the right thing, and I did, so you were wrong. Anyway, I'm gonna go, folks, but I'll just take a look at the chat quick. Nothing new in the chat, so I'm just gonna say goodnight, folks, because I'm way past my bedtime. Good night.